Yeah,
It's
so if
okay.
anything, yeah, I can always like this, I'll just chop it off.
Okay.
Uh, I am so happy to welcome to the show an old friend who I haven't talked to in years now, and it's so wonderful to see you, Martha Chapi. Fuck, how do I say it? Is it Chapi?
Sheppy.
Chapi.
Like
Mar
think Sheppy.
Sheppy.
That's the best way to think of it. Yeah.
Martha Sheppy. Martha, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to talk to you again.
I know. Are you still in LA? Where are you today in the world?
I am. I'm in the same place where we met in Sherman Oaks.
Nice. Yes. The way we met is really interesting. We met at a indoor play place randomly with our children there. I guess I only had the one at that point. I only had Izzy, right? Or did I have yeah, I must have only had or did I have
You did
Dominic?
it. You had Dominic. He and our, let's see, he was maybe 9 months old, maybe,
Okay. Yeah.
because I think actually that weekend we met, we had um, a foster child who was in the NICU, and I had been going to the NICU a lot, and so we went to that play place for the other kids to try to like, spend some time with them and get them. So that was so yeah. So I remember it was that would have been the end of 2022.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah,
That sounds right. Because
yeah,
then we moved to New York in summer of 23. Um,
yep,
but anyway, we met, we started talking, and then it turns out somehow you mentioned that you were fostering, and then I was like, oh, that's really cool. I am too. And who's your agency? Oh, it's Extraordinary Families. Mine too. Wow. We so that is like how we connected, and then we stayed connected. You were sort of having a hard time at that time, as I recall, and I had been with
yes.
Extraordinary Families through the adoption of my daughter. So I knew them pretty well, and I had just become I can't remember the name of it. What was I? I was a like
Like a mentor or a mentor, right? Through
it
the
was a
agency?
mentor. They had another name for it. I can't remember what it was, but it was basically like mentoring other parents, which I thought was a great program that they didn't have when I had first started. And so I was like, I want to sign up for that to help people. So then I just sort of volunteered myself, like, oh, I'm happy to be your mentor. And so,
Yeah.
yeah. So take us through what that time was like. So the child that you had then is not the child that you have now.
Correct. Yep. I think yes, we were new to Extraordinary Families because we had a pretty heartbreaking experience before, we'll call Leo, who was in the NICU when I met you,
Uh
who
huh.
we had for about 6 months. But prior to that, and this is a good point to bring up, how helpful it was to have a mentor, because prior to that we were new to the fostering system. The agency, they're there to help, but they're not really, they're still advocating for the child and the biological parent. So you're kind of like a little bit lost in how the whole system works. And we didn't really have any guidance, and there were twists and turns and just like policies that we were really thrown off by. So our first experience was like a deep dive into all of the the challenges of foster
Yeah.
parenting, and we learned along the way.
How did
And then
you go ahead?
when I had met you, that was our second time, our third kiddo, but our second time fostering, and so we were. I think yeah, like I said, he was still in the NICU, so it was maybe a few days uh, of that when I met you.
Wow, it was meant to be. Um,
Hmm.
what was your family like? Take us to how did you get there? Why did you decide to foster at all?
Um, I've always wanted a big family. I am one of five, and I that was just always my goal to have the biggest in in these days, the biggest family I could afford. Um, and but I never really felt like I wasn't one of those people who needed to have my own child. I never really, I know there's a lot of people that have that urge of like, I want this child to be my own. I that was just not my experience at all. So we have two biological children, but it was a hard process getting pregnant. So right away we started looking into adoption and found our way through the foster route. I feel like if you start to educate yourself on the foster system, there's no turning back. Like if you learn about all of the people, all the children out there that need help, it's almost impossible to say, nah, I'm just gonna
Right. Yeah.
not help. So yeah, so we found ourselves in one informational meeting, and then after that, we had to help.
Wow. I think that's true for many people. I also think that some people would go to that meeting and then be like, "Oh, hell no. Like, this is not for me." Fair
That's
to
true.
say
You're
that?
right. It
Yeah.
is, yes, absolutely fair. I think some people are very intimidated by it and get caught up in the what ifs of it, of
Mhm.
of not necessarily all the positive things, but all of the it's tricky. You're gonna, all of the stereotypes that you hear. I do think that trips people up a lot. So I always try to tell people, even if you have like just a thought of maybe you'd like to do this, just go to the meeting because you're right. You'll either go one way. You'll say yes, absolutely, sign me up. I'm ready to dive into this, or you're gonna
Yeah.
say, it doesn't seem like something I want to do. So I always encourage people just to learn more about it if they're remotely interested.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because for my husband and I, like, we went and we were kind of like, "Oh, hell no," but we did it anyway. So it's like, we were just afraid. I
Good
think
for
after
you.
having
Yeah,
like, we had experienced, like, so much heartbreak through, infertility and IVF and all this stuff that, like, we're kind of like, "Oh god," like, to go through this all and then to possibly not be able to keep the child is would just be devastating. However, we did feel like there was just something about it that we were just like, "This is something we need to do," and we had to get ourselves there emotionally in terms of, like, this isn't really about us anymore. This is, yes, we want a child, another child, or no, not actually just one child. Then second time it was another child. But yes, we want a child, but like this is really about this child's journey and helping this child. And it has to be about that. And so if it works out and we're meant to be together forever, then we will be. And if not, then we just did this thing that was like an a really awesome thing that's like a necessary thing that so many children need. So, yeah, I think it is scary. It is scary.
it is scary and it is heartbreaking. I don't I we went through that where we had to give up three kiddos, and it is like, it's excruciating, but you're right. Like after time passes, you realize you did help. There's some, you know, even if it's 2 days or if it's 6 months or a year and a half or however long it is, you're still demonstrating some positivity and good, um, just a good experience for that child. So
Mhm.
whatever path they go through next, whatever their journey is, they will always have that. Whether they remember it or not, they'll
Right.
have it in, you know, their their subconscious, or they'll remember it in some way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yes, it is. Yeah, it's it's difficult, but it just, yeah, one of those things.
Yeah.
You're right. You have to do it for the child.
The the woman who certified us for first aid, like you have to do all those requirements to get certified for to foster. And our first aid teacher said something that just hit me like I think it was one of the biggest like things that sort of moved me in the direction of like we have to do this. She said, the placement might not be permanent, but what you do is permanent. And I was just like, "Oh god, that's so," for that child, it is. It's permanent, and certainly even for you as a person, as a human being, that's permanent. Loving being able to love something with all your heart, someone, and then let them go is it's it's a huge thing, you know? It's a deep thing and a huge thing. Tell me
Yeah, yeah.
specifically.
And we
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say we did get to the point because it is so heartbreaking that we said, "You know what? We're I'm sorry, we can't do this anymore." We just happened to be still on an email list
Mhm.
that an email came through and, John and I were a little on the fence, but, ultimately, we asked our daughter, who was 5 at the time, and we said, "What do you think?" And she said, "Well, do we get to keep it?" Makes me emotional. "Do we get to keep him forever?" And I said,
Mhm.
I don't know." And
Yeah.
she said, "You know what? Let's do it. I can handle it." And we were like,
Oh.
"Okay, if I" yeah. And, yeah, that's the reason we have him because she said, "Let's do it."
That's so
Um
beautiful.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I'll always remember that moment and always tell that story. It's like
Yeah.
she was the one that said, "You know what?" Because she had heartbreak too when the others
Yeah.
left, and
Of course
yeah,
she
so
did. Of course she did.
yeah.
Let's tell me about so you have two children. At that time, they were little. Um, about the first placement, and let's just kind of go through that because I think it's good for the listeners to get a sense of like how this unfolds. What happened? So you decided, okay,
Mhm.
let's try fostering. You went to the information center, information session. You thought, yeah, let's do this. And what happened?
Yeah, so we our daughter was 2 at the time, and we, were feeling like we wanted to keep growing our family. We had a really, tough time getting pregnant with her, so this is the route we decided to take, and we got a call about, 2 kids. They were, at the time, 3 and 2, siblings, and we brought them that at the time, we didn't you don't know much when you get the phone call. It's like,
Hmm.
they were they were just taken away from their mother, um, from neglect. That's pretty much the only information you have.
Hmm.
So, they came, to us, and they were with us for a year and a half.
Mm,
Um, that was also during COVID. It was our first time, it was during COVID, it was just hard because everybody was going through the effects of COVID, and it was hard for everybody, so, like, the visits with mom were difficult because it was on Zoom, but they were 2 and 3, so they're not really attentive to the Zoom,
right.
but we we just had a lot of, struggles with keeping the relationship with mom, and I think it was a
Hmm.
lot of having to do with COVID, and ultimately, mom decided she had told them that she doesn't want and this was after a year and a half, so ultimately, mom said she didn't want her kids with us, and that was actually the reason they were taken away. So we got a phone call a year and a half later, and said, "Mom doesn't want them with you anymore, we're gonna move them."
Oh
Um,
my God.
so I had called the mom. This is, like, getting in the weeds, but they were African American, and so all the hair shops are closed
Hmm.
during COVID. So
Yeah.
I'm doing my best to do the little girl's hair. I have my African American friends coming over, but it's like in the heart of COVID, so they're even don't want to be around
Yeah.
us. But she just like honestly, ultimately, it got down to me not being able to do her hair, and her mom getting
Wow.
very upset about it.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So I tried to call mom and talk with her, but
Yeah.
it was hard to reason with her.
Oh my gosh. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Did they ultimately get placed with someone else, or did they go back to her? Or are you not sure?
No, they ultimately got placed in another. yeah, they got placed in another home that had, I think, 6 or 7 foster children, and then I was trying to track them. They then went back to mom, and I actually have lost track of them. I don't know if
Yeah.
they're still with mom or if they're um, in another home.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you still
It's
feel
just one of
c
those things where you go ahead.
No, you go ahead, really. I can ask that later.
Yeah. No, I think you were gonna say if like you still feel connected to them, and
Yes.
we do. We think about them all the time. We
Mhm.
share memories with our daughter about them. I mean, like honestly, at the grocery store, like I always keep my eyes open. I'm like, there is gonna be a day where I see them. And
Mm,
they will look different, but I will know it's them. And so I do wish I just knew where they were and if they were
yeah.
safe. Um, but that's the other thing. You don't know. You can only trust what you did for those 18 months you had them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just it's so and this is sort of a moot point because there's nothing that anyone can do to change it. But I feel like I just have to bring up after for these children, after being with you for a year and a half, that's a long time in the life of a little small child, especially. So in the life of anyone, especially a child, but when they're that little, to be so bonded with you and and to have that taken away, it just seems I question that in terms of the wisdom of the system that would do that. Like it doesn't make sense to me. They're happy, they're healthy, they're bonded. I understand that the racial piece is a piece, and I get that. But that's not something that can't be overcome in terms of like, the a parent such as yourself, I'm sure was more than willing to educate yourself and to, foster a community, and all of that stuff. It comes down to you not being able to do their hair, which is obviously a it's also just about the racial piece in general. I mean, is there how do you what is your
Mhm.
how do you think about that now?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I said the same thing when the social worker came. We said, how is this how if the mission is to do what is right for the child, how can you look me in the eye and say that this is in the best interest of the child? Because we were the only, for the 2-year-old, he didn't remember anything before
Mhm.
we had, he was with us. So we were the only parents he knew. And so it was really and still is really hard for us to wrap our minds around
Yeah.
because you're right. I don't see I don't see how that was the best decision for the children.
Yeah.
And I do understand the complexities of the racial piece as well. But it's just at the end of the day, they were in a family that they were
Yeah.
happy, they were thriving. The social worker would even say they're doing so well. So it's really difficult because I think as a foster parent, you also don't really have a voice. They're
Mhm.
not always because your intention is all not always, but many people's intention is to keep the child forever, even though you go in
Mhm.
saying, "I'll only keep we'll only have them as long as they need us." You
Yeah,
fall in love in a
of
minute, and so
course.
it's a
Mhm.
bond and it's hard to break.
Yeah,
It's much easier said than done.
right. Yeah. Were you able to create a life book for them before they left so that they would have that to remember you by?
Honestly, no, it was I
Mhm.
think we had maybe a 2-hour heads up, and so
Oh,
the only thing I could do was yeah, write their favorite songs they like to sleep in, things that would help the next foster parent of like, here are their
yeah.
favorite songs, here's what they don't like to eat. That
Ugh.
was really the best we could do in the time that we had.
2 hours? That's really what they gave you. They were like they just called you and were like, "We're coming to pick up the children."
Yeah, it was a whirlwind and it was absolutely Yeah, it was like a scene from a horror movie. It was terrible for us.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And your children were too like your biological children were too young to really did it affect them then or not really because they were so young?
She was 3 at the time and definitely sad, but we took her to some therapy sessions just to make sure if there's anything that, like, we're not seeing, and she went to a couple, and finally the therapist said, you know, she is young enough that she's kind of, um, bounces back faster than
Right.
we do and won't necessarily have. Yeah. So, but
Hmm.
yeah, like I said, we still talk about them a lot, and um, she doesn't quite remember, but through videos and photos, she does.
Right. Yeah. 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 And how extraordinary then that how much time had passed between the end of that placement and when you got your new placement?
So we had, let's see, that was in, they left us in 2021, and then in 2022, so it was about a year. We had
Okay.
another call for a baby who was in the NICU. Yeah. And then had him for 6 months, which is actually, I could go into that story, but that story of giving him up is the opposite. It was a very beautiful story, that I
Mm.
didn't know at the time, but um, so that kind of restored our hope in the system. Um,
Mm.
so it was a year, um, from when we gave up those 2 kids to when we got a new placement.
Okay. And would you share that story? Would you be willing to share that story?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we had gotten a call about a little baby who's in the NICU in Long Beach, whose mom had left the hospital. He had just been born, and because they didn't know who the dad was, and the mom had left, they thought it was they were. This was extraordinary families at the time, very cognizant of the fact that we really wanted to foster to adopt. So they thought that this would be, it was looking good, like no family was around, nobody was
Yeah.
coming for him.
Mhm.
So we um, we agreed to take him, and he was in the NICU for I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks. So it was in Long Beach, so we were driving back and forth to the NICU. He finally got out. Was very healthy. This was in November, and then in February they said that they found the father and his sister had come forward to take the baby.
Mhm.
So again, we're, you know, here we go again.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the sister. I don't know, you just don't know, and what you don't know worries you. So,
Mhm.
uh, but we had no choice. So I one day in February had to pack him up and drive him about an hour out of LA. And I'll tell you that drive to take him to drop him off to his new home when I didn't know what kind of home I was
Yeah.
walking into. I didn't know who the parents were. It was just so terrifying.
Mhm.
I cried the whole way.
Mhm.
Um, and then I got there and they were just like the most loving family. And she actually said, I didn't know because she said she said something that triggered the question of or triggered in her mind. She said, I didn't know that you were wanting to adopt him.
Mm.
So, in her mind, maybe she wouldn't have come forward if she knew he was in a loving home.
Uh-huh.
But she did anyway, and we are actually still connected to this day. She sends photos, we go to birthday parties, we went to his
Oh.
adoption ceremony a couple months ago, and I just really feel in my heart that he is in the right place, and we would obviously love to have him, but he's with his family, and gets to see his biological grandparents, and his cousins are now his brothers and sisters, so that just was,
Mhm.
um, yeah, just really the opposite experience and a really beautiful one.
Wow. That's wonderful. It's so great for you and for the child that you've stayed connected, you know? I mean, I I just think it's having more community and family and people that have shared a piece of common history together. It's just so it's really important for his story that he knows you, and it's obviously so much better for you guys to know that he is safe and loved and cared for. And yeah, that's really cool. I love that.
Yeah, and it's really
Yeah.
great that his now mom and dad are, willing to tell him that, and they call us his
Yes.
first parents, and he's just, he'll never remember because he was, a week to
Yeah.
6 months old, but, he will know from photos that there was somebody who, you know, drove an hour and a half to Long Beach every night to sit with him and
Yeah.
wanted what was best for him, and so, um and yeah, and my kids now have a relationship with them, and our
Mhm.
adopted son now has, somebody who can come relate to his story, which I think is
Yes.
also really important.
It's huge. It's huge. So tell us about so how much time after that did what went by before you got connected with your son?
That was in February, and then, like I said, we said, "No, there's absolutely no way we can go through this heartbreak again.
Right.
We're done." And so we had contacted Extraordinary Families saying, "We're not gonna renew any of our, requirements. Thank you, but we just feel like we need to move on."
Yeah.
Um, and so we didn't really keep up with our, certifications, but then in April, we just happened to be on, and you're probably still on them, but the email that goes out and
Mhm.
says, "There's a child that needs a family." So we got the email on early in April, and we're like, there's just something. I was like, should we do this? Like, and
Mhm.
so John and I had texted Extraordinary Family saying, we know we're not certified and we're off the list. Is it still possible for us to take him? And she said,
Mhm.
absolutely, we can make it happen because it's considered an emergency. We can get everything in order and it can happen. So we said, okay, we'll let you know tonight. And when our daughter got home from school, that's when we had the conversation with her about
Mhm.
it. And then
Mhm.
that night we called and said, we're doing it. We're we'll take him.
Mhm.
And so I went to the hospital that night, and he was in the NICU for like 4 or 5 days, and then we brought him home. And that was April 2023, and we adopted him in July of 2024.
Nice. Okay, so that was a lot quicker of a process too.
Yes, a very quick process, and it was a similar story to our Leo, whose mother had left him, and they didn't know who the dad was, and
Mhm.
but they couldn't contact any family after months and months,
Yeah.
and so it's
Did you find it was any easier being in that unknowing, or was it still just as hard as it was the first two times, just being in that limbo before you adopted him?
it was easier because at that point you're like, well, what's going to happen is going to happen. I cannot control this. We'll just give our best for as long as we have him and see
Hmm.
what happens. Had it ended where we would have to give him up, I probably wouldn't be saying that right now. It would be a different memory,
Right. Yeah.
but you just kind of have to let go,
Yeah.
and it's much easier said than done.
Yeah. It really is. I think that it's a part of the puzzle that it doesn't get talked about a lot is just the extraordinary strength that foster parents have to be able to do this. I mean, it's almost like we're just expected to be, and I'm not trying to get down on the system or anything like that. I think it's complex and um, there's a lot of different sides and angles, but the uh, the expectation that the foster parents are kind of like just these not like human beings, but we're just like these like um placeholders or whatever is it's just so difficult because it's that, as you said, like you bond immediately with these children. Like how can you not? You're there, you're taking care of them, you're experiencing everything that any parent would experience. And it's really challenging. And I don't know how that could be fixed. Um, or I don't know what the answer is, but it's just something that I feel like I need to acknowledge.
Absolutely. I don't know the solution for it either, but I agree with you. It just feels like there's, as a foster parent, you almost don't have any rights or say in you're responsible for this human being, but you don't have any say in how it's done.
Right.
And so it is very challenging because you love them like they're your own, but you can't necessarily make the decisions as if they are your own. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it it's yes, it's very tricky. And again, I wish I had a solution as well because I will not raise my hand and say I'm the biggest fan of the system
Uh-huh.
because I think it is broken. But again, I don't. If I had a solution, I would stand up and scream it, but I don't because it is complex.
Yeah. 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 How old are all your children now?
Our oldest is 9, and
Mhm.
then our middle child, or biological child, is 3, and our adopted son is 2.
Wow. And how do they all get along?
The little boys, the 2 and 3-year-old, fight all the time, uh,
Uh-huh.
but our oldest daughter is like the best big sister. She's extremely maternal. She's always looking out for them. She's such a big help. And it's even weird for me when I'm listening to myself right now saying adopted child because I don't think about it often that I just say I we have 3 kids, but I don't on a day-to-day basis acknowledge that he is adopted. So just
Yeah.
going back to the fact that he's your child, like to me the biological aspect of it is not different for our daughter than it is for our adopted son, which is really cool. Um, and I don't know, it'd be interesting to hear what you think, but at some point we're gonna have to explain that to him.
Mhm.
Um, and he looks different than the rest of us. He's brown hair, brown eyes, and short, and we're all really tall. So at some point,
Mhm.
just him acknowledging that, and we don't hide it from him now. But he's
Sure.
2, so he doesn't really understand. But
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
that's just another layer of that we have to think about, even after when it's said and done, and you've adopted. Then there's more steps that you take beyond that.
Absolutely. Do you do you celebrate the adoption day?
We were going to, and then I have a friend who's also foster to adopt 2 children, and her take, which is why it gave me some pause. And her take
Mhm.
was that you're really celebrating a loss for the child because they've
Mhm.
lost their their biological family. Um, and so we just kind of thought about it and ultimately did not celebrate it, but I'm a little torn on that. I did in my heart was like, yes, let's celebrate, but I also
Mhm.
understand the flip side.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I had a similar journey with it as well. Like at the beginning with Izzy, we did celebrate it. In fact, even calling it Gotcha Day that first time. And then I just realized I educated myself a little and I was like, Gotcha Day is not the greatest terminology. It's as if you purchase something from Amazon. Like it's not. It's just, I think it's outdated. I don't think it's, to each his own. You can do what you want, but
Yeah.
yeah, we eliminated that shortly after the first one, and then I started just feeling similar to you. I just kind of like it is a loss for them. It's a gain for us. That was a really happy day and it was a happy day for our family. Absolutely, no question about that. But yeah, to sort of make it a thing, I don't feel that's necessary. I do think it can help just in terms of the, especially when you bring home a baby, when they're a baby, when they start living with you, it can help in terms of just the normalizing that you were adopted kind of a situation. So we have pictures from adoption day, and Dominic has one on his wall, and it's like, oh yeah, that was your adoption day, like, so that we're just sort of normalizing that. And I think it can be helpful from that point of view. We also have a lot of books, just like that kind of center around adoption, to just kind of, again, like, just to, especially with Dominic, because our son came to us at 3 days old. So he truly has not known anything else. Izzy was 3.5 weeks. He was 3 days. But yeah, I think it is important that they know, and that that's just normalized from an early age, you know?
Yeah,
And
and I think, having friends who have had that experience is very helpful as well, to surround yourself.
absolutely.
When you were in LA, having play dates with people who, to normalize it. It's like this
Yes.
happens and it's, yeah. I think that's one of the most important things so they can understand when they get older that they don't feel so isolated and feel so
Yeah.
different.
Yes.
There's so many other kids in that situation.
Agree. Yeah, absolutely. One of our good friends here in New York has an adopted son as well, and so that feels really good, to just, and they're besties, like, anyway, which is just great. But yeah, I think as they get older, that's going to be really valuable for both of them to be able to process that. Um, in my case, so Dominic is African American. We're obviously white, so there's also that racial component. And it was interesting, to, like, it's funny when kids are little, they don't really get skin color, or they kind of get, they see that there's a difference, but they don't really, uh, they don't know anything about it, right? Like, Izzy asked me actually a couple of years ago, they were studying Black History Month in school, and she came to me and said, "Mommy, are we black?" And I was like,
Cute.
well, your brother is black. We're not black. And she was like, oh, like, I think she thought it was like really cool and like wanted that, and it's been confusing for her actually to like just piece all of
Yeah,
that together, like, how do we fit in, and why doesn't Dom look like us? And even though she's actually Filipina and Japanese, as well as white, but she looks more white, obviously, than he does. So it's just an interesting, the racial component is interesting. Your adopted son is white, right?
he's white. Yeah.
He looks
Yep.
different, but he's, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Although
Yeah.
I think he's starting to look just like my husband. It's
Yeah,
funny.
it's
Like,
funny how that
when
happens.
the facial expressions and
Yep.
when John takes him to the grocery store, all of the
Mhm.
people say, "Oh my gosh, he looks just like you." And it's so funny
Yeah.
but I do. I think that happens. I think it's some weird phenomenon, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah. My friend was telling me that her son, Bennett, who the adopted boy that Dominic is friends with, that he said Marissa, my girlfriend, is African American and her husband is white. And she mentioned something to Bennett, about race and about being black. And he was like, I'm not black. And she was like, honey, yes, you are. I'm black. And he's like, I'm not black, and he's like very dark skinned. It was just so cute, like how he didn't like get it, and so she was like, "Yes, you
yeah,
are," and like, it's a funny
it
thing,
is
but
so
it's
cute and so
important.
innocent.
It's so important to talk about. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So what else? Talk to me about raising three children just in general, and what your day-to-day life is like. Are you working? What, I can't remember what are you a lawyer? I don't remember what that was in my head that you were a lawyer. Are you a lawyer?
No, I'm a producer.
A producer, okay. So, like, do you have to be
Yeah.
on set and, like, do like, what's your how do you do it? How do you juggle it?
Um, good question. Not well,
Yeah.
is the
I'm trying to
answer.
figure it
No,
out for myself, so I
yes. Yeah. Um, yeah, so I do work full time. John works from home, so he has a little bit more flexibility, but it is chaotic. It's very chaotic, and, they're
Mhm,
little. The little ones are 2 and 3, so we're at a
mhm.
point now where, unfortunately, something's gotta give, so the sacrifice for us is honestly our not I don't wanna say we're sacrificing our marriage, but it's our relationship. It's like we're ships in the night of, like,
Yeah, totally.
we're assigned to one of the children, and there's not a lot of time for each other,
Yep.
because we had to do our work, and then, we really like to work out, and so
Mhm.
keep ourselves healthy, and then at the end of the day, it's like, "Oh god, I'm so tired, I'm gonna go to bed," and we're not gonna
Yep.
have a adult conversation, so, um, candidly, that's just, like but we both understand that it really sucks right now, but it won't
Right.
always be that way, it's just the unfortunate that's just how it goes right now. Um, so,
Yeah.
yes, to answer your question, it's super chaotic, but it just takes a team of, you know, both parents just diving in and doing what we need to do for the family.
Yep. Do you have help? Like, do you have a nanny or, do you have family around or anything like that?
We do have our 18-year-old niece lives with us, and so she's 18, so she's doing her own thing, but she does, she can help out
Mhm.
here and there. And we do have family sort of close by in San Diego, so they're not far, but they're not like a 5-minute drive away. So we don't have a ton of help, but we also just really like being with our kids,
Mhm.
so when we have an opportunity to, we're both a little bit at homebodies, we like to be with our kids. So I don't feel like I'm, like, missing out on, other experiences because 'cause I'm really happy to be, at home hanging with them.
Nice. Yeah. That's great. It's a great feeling, isn't it? Like, yeah, especially because you wanted like a big family and now it sounds like you've kind of got that with your nieces living with you and you got 3 kids and that's really cool.
Yeah, and yeah, I always tell people they always ask, like, are you gonna have more?" And I'm like, "I don't think I can afford more or have, like, a space
Okay.
to put them," it's not
Right.
like we live in a huge house in the Midwest, and
Right.
I would always say yes if I had the resources, but
Mhm.
I think we're tapped out now.
Mhm. Do you ever think about not now, but when your kids are older, do you think about just fostering again? Like, would you do that or do you think it's just like, nah?
I have thought about that, and I
Mhm.
think there's probably 2 instances where we would think about it again, and one is when the kids are older and,
Mhm.
um, there's not so much, I would like to foster an older child. I think that would be really
Mhm.
cool to try to
Mhm.
guide them through that. But when you have little ones, you have to be careful because the older foster children, they come with a significant amount of trauma, and you really got to go all in on that. And so I don't think we have enough time really to dedicate to an older child right now, but I would like to do that when they're older. And the second instance, obviously, is if our youngest, Louis, if his mom had another child,
Mhm.
um, we would just really have to consider um, taking his sibling. And he does have two older siblings that have been since adopted, and I've tried to get in touch with their parents, but I haven't heard back. I just think it'd be really nice for him to know his siblings as he grows up, but I think they
Yeah.
wanted to keep that separate. So, but anyway, yeah,
Right.
that would be the other instance. If he had a sibling, I would really have to consider, you know, making him share some rooms and finding a
Yeah.
way to get him
Yeah.
or her into our house. Yeah.
Yeah, I always said the same thing. I said, if that were to happen for one of our children, we would do that. Like we would just have to. We would have to figure it out and we would do it. you know? Um
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. How has this
Your two are not
experience
related, blood related?
No. No.
Or Izzy and Dom? They're not. Okay.
No. No, not at all. And in fact, Dominic was a safe surrender. So we have no
Oh, right.
information at all about his biological family, which is
Right.
unfortunate. It's going to be, it's hard for him. It's as he gets older, not only medically is it important to have like history, but just on an emotional level of like knowing who your biological parents were, that's going to be difficult for him. We would support him trying to find that out when and if he wants to do that at some point, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it make it easier as he gets older. It make it easier to, with all the technology, it just gets easier to find find people.
it's true. Yeah. We're all going to have like like little chips in our heads or something and then just scan it and they're like, "Oh yeah, you belong
Yeah.
to now." um
That's my dad. Yeah.
Yeah. How would you say that this experience has changed you? Obviously, it's changed your life, it's changed the makeup of your family. And I know, but just for our listeners, like, who were you before these experiences and who are you now? How has it changed you?
Um, you know what? I think that I have a better understanding of sort of the world's like I do feel like there's so many issues in our world that stem from a child not having been properly nurtured or loved.
Mhm.
Um, so I really have a better understanding of that of mental illness and homelessness and just all of the things that I just feel like if we just take care of the kids when they're little, so much of it can get solved. One of the most staggering statistics for me is that kids who kids who age out of the foster system, it's something like 80% of them become homeless or something. That's like we have to catch those kids before it's too late almost. And so
Mhm.
I just think that it's changed me in the way of realizing that it's not necessarily like, oh yeah, let's help a kid out, but it's just such a global mission of like, let's help our children. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if that really answered your question, but that's been just one eye-opening thing for me. Um, and as far as just changing I don't know that it has changed me honestly. I think
Mhm.
that I've kind of always just been somebody who feels like foraging for family is really admirable,
Mhm.
and I still feel that way. I think that, you can find your family anywhere.
Mhm. That's beautiful. I love that. What advice would you have to someone who's thinking about it?
I think anybody who's thinking about it should at least just take the first step and go to a meeting or an orientation where you're just learning more. Or, I mean, I think just listening to your podcast is really helpful, or just finding somebody who has done it,
Mhm.
and doing the research. I think just taking the first step, because if you are interested in it, you will you will know from that meeting if you want to continue on or not. But if you don't ever take that step, you won't ever know. And it's a long process too, being certified. You could be on top of it, which I feel like we were really on top of it. It could take, I don't know, it could take a year. I can't remember how long it took us. I think it maybe took
Yeah.
us 9 months at first to get through everything.
Mhm.
So you could at least start the process. And if it takes you a year or 2 years to even get certified and then get the first call of somebody who you want to bring into your home, you can decide then. It's not like if you get certified and go to the meetings and sign up, you're on the hook to take a child. You can always get the phone call and say no. I mean, we
Right.
couldn't because I just like I don't have it in me, but you can. You always have
Yeah,
that choice. So I just think if people are interested, they should at least go through the process.
I love it. Great advice. It's so good to connect with you. I want us to stay in touch, and anytime you're in New York, you have to come and visit.
I would love to. I've
I don't
always
know if
wanted
you
to go
ever
to New
get out
York in
there,
Christmas
but yeah.
time, so
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
it's
on my
wonderful.
list. It's on my list to go during Christmas time, so at some point I will.
Amazing. Are we missing anything? Is there anything else that you really want to share or say that I didn't maybe ask you about that you were thinking about?
I don't think so. I think yeah, I think it's a beautiful journey. It's a difficult one, but it's it's worth every heartache, I think, in the end.
Yeah. Amazing. All right, we're going to sign off. You stick around and I'll just say goodbye to you off air. But thank you so much for joining us today, Martha.